Well, well, well. It seems that the leaks coming from Naughty Dog weren't from a disgruntled employee after all. According to Sony, they have identified the individuals responsible for the leak, and they are hackers who managed to exploit a vulnerability in earlier Naughty Dog games in order to gain access to The Last of Us 2 assets, which were then leaked online. This is what Sony Interactive Entertainment said, as reported by Polygon. SIE has identified the primary individuals responsible for the unauthorized release of The Last of Us 2 assets. They are not affiliated with Naughty Dog or SIE. We are unable to comment further because the information is subject to an ongoing investigation. We're looking forward to when The Last of Us Part 2 will be in your hands and can't wait for you to enjoy the full experience on June the 19th. Now, Sony could be lying, and it could turn out that the leaker was indeed an employee, but to be honest, I doubt it. Mainly because if they are lying, the lie will come back and bite them on the arse, but also because there's no real evidence to back the assertion that the leaker was an employee. There's a few bits and pieces online, but nothing concrete. And the stuff coming out of Sony, as I say, will bite them on the arse if it turns out they're lying. So they'd be bloody stupid to do that. And, you know, as I say, we should know in due course because Sony will, well, they're not going to take this lying down, are they? And there's likely to be legal action taken against the leakers. Honestly, I wouldn't want to be them right now because they're in for a world of hurt. And I can imagine that Sony will throw the book at them, to be honest. And if Sony win the court case, these people, well, as I say, I wouldn't want to be in their shoes. And look, while I could sympathise with a leaker who was also a disgruntled employee, I find it hard to sympathise with hackers who did this just for shits and giggles. I honestly, I don't know what their reason for doing this is, but one, they shouldn't have done it, and two, what on earth were they thinking? Did they think they wouldn't be found out? Because, regardless of what you think about the story details that have been leaked, you can't possibly think that the hackers stealing assets is justifiable. Would you like them stealing your work? Of course you wouldn't. This does bring up the issue of Sony's security yet again, though, and I do have to wonder what these companies are thinking. We've seen it with Nintendo recently as well, them being hacked. And, this isn't the first time that Sony have been hacked. So it would seem that they need to start taking security a bit more seriously. Regardless of whether these leaks were made by hackers or by a disgruntled employee, though, one thing is still clear. Naughty Dog has a culture problem. I said it in my previous video on this subject, and I was amazed to see just how many people were either ignoring the issue or entirely dismissing it as unimportant. Some even got angry with me for raising it at all, stating that we shouldn't feel sympathy for high-earning developers. Well, for a start, not everybody who works for a gaming company is earning vast amounts of money, and we've heard countless stories about crunch, lost bonuses, layoffs, etc., etc., all while top executives continue to expand their personal fortunes. Show some bloody empathy, for Christ's sake. After all, these people are the people who make the games you love and sometimes hate. But hey, they're working and they're trying to make the best games they can. Because despite what some people have said, I can't imagine any developer out there actually goes out to make a bad game or a game that people are going to hate. Jim Sterling mentions empathy in his video about the subject. And I also brought it up in my previous video's comments. And, we're talking about human beings here. Human beings are being put under unacceptable pressure to deliver, often in completely unrealistic circumstances, with lead developers chopping and changing things whenever it suits them, and execs insisting that games get put out in order to meet financial deadlines. That leaves the people doing the actual work being pulled in multiple directions and expected to fulfill unrealistic workloads and deadlines. And according to Jim Sterling's video, this is even worse at Naughty Dog, because they deliberately hire people who are prone to being perfectionists and who will work long hours with little encouragement. To paraphrase him, this shows that the company are failing in their duty of care towards their employees, because it should be up to them to make sure their employees don't overwork themselves, not to encourage unhealthy work practices. Here's a quote from the Kotaku article that Jim Sterling cites in his video. It cites Evan Wells, Naughty Dog's president, who says, Naughty Dog's management actively seeks out workaholics. We crunch on all our games for sure. We never change our 40-hour expectation or our core hours, which are 10:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. People put in a lot more hours, but it's based on their own fuel, how much they have in their tank. And then he goes on to say, people just naturally do it because we hire a particular type of person who's motivated and passionate and wants to leave their mark on the industry. That's why they come to Naughty Dog. Yeah, and that's why they leave Naughty Dog not long after a project's finished, because they're bloody well burnt out. Evan Wells either doesn't understand or doesn't care that this is unsustainable, as Naughty Dog's turnover proves. People are getting burnt out and the company is losing its best people. It's utterly indefensible. I've worked for companies who will throw a boatload of work at you just as you're about to leave, and it's soul destroying. And I've worked for months without a day off as well, and guess what? That's soul destroying too. As is reported here, often the pressure isn't direct. Nobody's saying that you absolutely have to stay or that you have to come in at the weekend. But if you don't, well, don't expect a decent pay rise or a permanent position with the perks that brings. Meanwhile, while all this is going on, gamers are whining about the story of the game not being to their liking, and as I said before, getting all animated about supposedly fake outrage. Because apparently it's fake now to actually give a shit about other people and the environments they work in. The mind boggles. What's more fake? Getting all hot under the collar about a fictional story, or actually caring about other people's working environments and the way they're treated by their employers? I know what I think's more fake. I mean, come on. Do people really get this animated about a bloody video game? Let's put it in perspective here. This is a video game and a video game story. And people are getting all hot under the collar about the video game story and then getting angry with people when they point out that actually what's more important is the way the workers are treated. Come on. I mean, work it out for yourself, but I'll give you a clue. One of these things is real life. The other is entertainment. And if you think that entertainment is more important than real life, well, as I said in my previous video, you need to get a life. Seriously, get some bloody perspective. Having said all that though, there is one other aspect of this story that I do want to cover, and that's Sony's reaction to all this, because it seems like everybody else involved with this, Sony are overreacting. And look, I understand their need to identify the source of the leak, and I will fully support them if they pursue legal action against the hackers. As I said before, stealing from people and stealing people's work is not okay. What I don't understand, and I will never support though, is the heavy-handed way in which they've used the copyright system to silence people who are merely talking about these leaks. From what I can gather, many of these people have not used any of the leaked assets in their videos and have merely been talking about what has happened with the leaks, or have given their opinions about the aspects of the games that have been revealed in the leaks and things that they don't like. Now, personally, I'd rather not have heard anything about the story or the character development or anything else in the game prior to playing it. But if people want to talk about it, that's perfectly reasonable, with the, slight exception of the people who deliberately go out of their way to spoil the game for others because those guys are wankers. But it's going to happen, isn't it? More importantly, though, this isn't a breach of copyright. The last time I checked, talking about something didn't come under copyright law. And so Sony is very definitely abusing the system to try and silence dissent. And that's not only wrong, it's bloody counterproductive. I hate to tell you this, Sony, but the genie's out of the bottle. This information is out there now, and behaving like bullies to shut people up will only alienate people. And when I say people, I mean me. As I say, I don't condone the leaks, but one sure way to piss me off is to engage in this type of behaviour. So look, carry on, because now you've managed to piss off not only those who don't like the story, you've also pissed off people like me who were, to some extent at least, defending Naughty Dog. I won't defend Naughty Dog and the way they treat their workers, but I will defend their right to do whatever they want with their story. So if you then turn around and you make it so that people like me are calling you out, then you've lost all your support, because no one out there is going to back you for doing this. Nobody in their right mind anyway. Oh, these companies, they really don't learn, do they? Stop it, Sony. Let people talk. If people are sharing assets and things, fine, that's one thing. But if people are talking about this subject, let them be. You haven't got a leg to stand on. Seriously. Oh, what a shit show. If this is how Sony are going to start the next generation, they're going to be in trouble, I'm telling you. Anyway, look, that's me done. I've said my piece. I'm sure some of you are going to disagree with me. And if you do, let me know in the comments and we can discuss it as ever. And in the meantime, I'm going to go and grab myself a cup of tea and make my kids lunch. And I'll speak to you in the next one. Hopefully the next one will be about something completely different. Bye.